Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Dénht'ā. Hi, how are you? My name is Ella Lamoureux, and for people that don't know, Dénht'ā in my Kaska language means hello, how are you? So I think it's funny just to say it over and over again at the beginning of every episode. Dénht'ā, hi, how are you? Today, well, actually, in every episode, I get to talk with amazing, fantastic Indigenous individuals, and we get to hear their stories and how they live their life and just amazingness. And today we have no one other than... Today, we have the beautiful, stunning, fantastic Kaos.
Hi, how's it going?
Hi, Kaos. How are you? Introduce yourself.
I'm good. Hi, my name's Jesilo, also known as Kaos, the drag performer. I was on Canada's Drag Race Season 3 and I've been doing drag for quite a long time. So that's my go-to persona that people know me by. So.
Would you prefer to be called Kaos or Jesilo?
It doesn't matter. Either or is fine.
Either?
So, yeah.
And then culturally, you are?
I am Métis. I'm from Red River Métis Nation in Manitoba. Yeah. I'm Two Spirit Métis.
All right, you're Two Spirit Métis, which is fantastic.
Yep.
And then you mentioned you do drag all the time, which would be weird for people watching this that don't know that.
Right?
Yeah. Who is this person? So I'm just going to jump right into it. Okay. You mentioned Two Spirit already, you mentioned drag. Do you feel that your Two Spiritness ever, influences your drag?
Oh, for sure. So growing up, I've been doing drag for almost 14 years now. Even when I first started doing drag, I was never on this spectrum of being female or male. So I've always battled of what kind of drag I wanted to do, and also in my real life too, not just drag. So it's definitely impacted me. So as I've been growing up, learning more about my Indigenous culture, I realized right away that I was Two Spirit because I don't identify with one in specific gender. So yeah. All my drag has always been very gender bending. So definitely fits right into that category. Yeah.
I think that's one of the fantastic things about being Two Spirit, right? Is that you're able to bridge between the realms of masculine and feminine.
Exactly. It's
never just a binary set, which I always think is so cool. And I can see that in your drag as well, because you... Actually, I wouldn't say that, well, visually, me judging it. I don't see a lot of gender bending. You're hyper, goddess.
Yeah.
Which is pretty flippin' cool.
I've definitely softened a bit lately. I think I'm in a bit more of a feminine area.
More delicate?
Becoming a little more delicate, yeah. But I definitely like to play around and change it up, so.
Nice.
Yeah. Or maybe I'll be in my non-tucking era at some point.
One time, right? Coming up.
One time, it's fun, yeah.
Just letting it all hang out for the audience and the camera.
Exactly.
For the fans, they need to see it. Have you seen an OnlyFans maybe? Who knows?
Ooh, somebody asked me that yesterday on a live, if I was going to do an OnlyFans. I was like, if I can do an OnlyFans where I'm just sitting there eating, that would be great.
That would be amazing.
Right?
Have you ever seen that video where the stripper just sat on stage and ate pizza and then people just threw her money?
No, but can I do that? I will start that as a career.
Wouldn't that be amazing, though?
Yeah.
She was sitting against the pole. The pole's behind her, and she's sitting out like this, and then she just had her pizza. Just ate it.
I was eating grapes on my live yesterday, and I was like, in full face. Everyone's like, this is iconic. And I was like, can we just do this? I'll just do lives forever.
Yeah.
Now. Just
maybe
grapes.
have an ASMR thing so you can hear the crunch of the grape.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Give the eye,
you're
camera
giving me new ideas.
There we go.
For a new career here.
That's right. In the future, I just want to be influenced by Ella.
Yeah.
All right. So I know a bit about your story, but maybe some audience members don't. I could be wrong on this. Either you recently found out that you're Métis, or you just didn't connect with it. So now you are being more in tune with culture.
Yeah, didn't connect with it as much. So my grandpa, I wouldn't say full on part of the 60s scoop, but part of the 60s scoop generation, and he hid being Indigenous. He was in the military, and they didn't really allow Indigenous people in the military back then. So he hid it from pretty much my whole family, even though he's very clearly Indigenous.
Yeah.
But Métis can kind of swing either way. So
Totally.
I've known since as a kid that I was Métis, but my family didn't do anything involving culture. We've kind of kept that part out of our life and history. So as I grew up, I did a few things and learned more, but again, my family just kind of kept it at a wrap. So when my grandpa passed away, me, my mom, and some of my siblings have been slowly finding out more about our heritage and history. So I wouldn't, it's always been a part of my life. I just don't know anything about culture. So now through experiences and traveling in the last few years, I've just been learning more and more about myself and my family. So, yeah.
And it makes sense. Like a lot of Métis people growing up, especially around our age.
Yeah.
our parents or the parents of Métis people tend to have hidden, or they had that line that they were able to walk where they can pretend to be white because it was thought to be easier, or was frowned upon, or it was very racist back in the day.
Yep.
And they wanted an easier life for their kids.
For sure.
Not saying that's exactly what happened with yourself, but it's a common story with Métis people, which sucks. It sucks that society did that. But now you're reconnecting and you're on Drag Race. Do you feel that Drag Race was a big push for you to jump into culture more because people now saw you as a role model?
I feel like for sure it was a push, and it was kind of like you have to now because that storyline came out, and that storyline also kind of came out without my permission, but like I'm happy I did because it helped a lot of other people as well along the way. I wouldn't just say it's been more of a push, but it's also just been a way of helping because I've met so many great people from that experience and coming off that show. Like Shell is still one of my best friends. She's helped me throughout the years trying to figure out more about my life. And all my other Indigenous sisters that I've met, and even traveling. Like I've been getting to do a lot of shows where I get to visit reserves and just talk about myself and meet people as well. So there's definitely a push there, but it's more of just a great experience where you get to learn more. So.
And having Shayla's on in your corner is pretty good. She's
Right.
unapologetically Native.
Right. Yeah.
And I say that in a way that's not ironic because there is a lot of Natives that are just like hiding it a little bit, or they just like tone down a little bit of their Native isms when they're in like a bigger city.
For sure, yeah.
But like Shayla's on no matter where she goes.
She doesn't hide anything.
Nothing, and it's amazing and it's so refreshing.
I wait
love
like
her.
every day for another TikTok she posts where she's just like going off.
Literally.
And I'm like, work.
And like sometimes it's very rarely see her go off in a very angry sense, but there's like a lot of times we can see she's just annoyed.
Yeah.
And I love it. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her last, she just posted a TikTok a little while ago about being offered a gig talking in her tongue and her native language, and she had like an emotional breakdown because she doesn't know anything about it, and I got offered the same gig as her, and I was like, I don't know anything, period. So
Yeah.
I wonder how many people went through that same
Exactly.
struggle.
Going into it to talk about learning your language.
Exactly.
But also learning her language is so hard.
For sure.
I shouldn't say that. It's because it's a smaller language. I shouldn't say ours. There's so many different Indigenous dialects in Canada. There's a small community that knows it, so trying to learn it in a setting where people talking back to you makes it difficult.
For sure. Just learning a language, period, when you didn't grow up with it is like impossible. I'm like, I couldn't even do French school, like in high school, and I am French. So like trying to learn another language too, just like it's just
not
impossible not having,
Yeah, I agree with that. I recently took some Indigenous courses in my language, and it was okay being in the Zoom class, but since everyone was in the Yukon taking it, and I was one of the only ones on Zoom, it was really hard to practice off, like out of class.
For sure.
Because I had no one to talk to, right? So I'm just
Exactly.
like reading the words back, playing the audio, and just repeating.
Yep.
So it didn't have the same effect. Do I know how to say a lot of words now? Yes. Can I string them together in a sentence? No.
Well, that's another thing in culture too, like not being around enough Indigenous people. It's hard to like take up a language or learn more about it, or even learn more about yourself or which language is part of your culture, because I'm just not around it ever.
Yeah.
So that's why it's been a struggle for everybody, including Shell. So,
Yeah. And I think that's a common thing with urban and rural natives, is that a lot of people think that if you are an urban native, then you're disconnected from culture.
Yeah.
But that's not what it means at all. It just means that we practice it in a different way.
Exactly.
Like I live in a city, well, small city. And, and I'm not around culture all the time, but I try to
Exactly.
make room to go to things. I try to take as much Indigenous gigs as I can because I feel like being a visual presence is more important than being quiet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'd still want to talk, but being visible out in the world is, as a minority, I feel like is a big push for indigeneity.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. I think that's what's been helping me the most. So,
Yeah.
and what's needed. I will say, I've been like social media attacked a lot lately for some gigs, being like, I'm taking away a spot for another Indigenous artist or a person, but then I'm like, that
But you're Indigenous.
Exactly. But so I think there's just like the people in the world that are like half and half will never be fully understanding or accepting about. It's because I'm relearning culture and reconnecting when there's other people who are fully connected and should feel like they should have my spot. But
That's so wild to me because I agree with that in a way if we put it into terms of pretendian. Whereas like you are not pretending. You are actively learning your culture, actively being a present person.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone wasn't doing all those things and just being like, oh, my great-great-grandfather was native, so I have a little bit of Métis in me, and then they just use it to get benefits or take gigs, I feel like that's a different story.
Yeah, and I even don't do that. Like when I get offered some gigs, I also am like, did you take all the local queens as well, like where other people offer, like of course I want to do the gig and I want to like learn more and like spread my art and have fun, but I want to make sure everybody else is getting booked as well. So I do that every time I get asked too. I'm like making sure there's an open cast and it's not just me, or making it fair for everybody. So
literally, which is good, which I feel like you're doing more than what other people do, right?
Exactly. So,
but it's so wild to me when I keep hearing people saying that they're trying to gatekeep indigeneity. I can't get my words out, because like I don't get the point of stifling someone's art either out of jealousy, because if they're telling you not to do it, then they're probably just upset that they didn't get it.
Yeah, I can see that as a thing as well, for sure. But.
Yeah, and that just doesn't make sense, because like a step up for one of us is a step up for all of us. Because if we're showing a unified front, like you're a sober individual, so that's going to resonate with so many other Indigenous people that may be struggling with alcohol. Not saying that you did, but some people may see that and be like, hey, I could be successful and funny and beautiful and don't have to have a drink.
For sure. Yeah, I just went and did a gig in Sioux Lookout, First Nations Reserve. Who was I with? I was with Bebe. I don't know if you know Bebe, but I didn't know that it was a dry, sober community. So when I got there, I found it also that was partially why I was booked, to tell my story through recovery and being Two Spirit and queer. So, which is a lot of people there struggle with as well. So,
yeah. And then you coming in there as a strong individual shows them that you can.
Exactly.
I mean, we all have bad days, right? But
for sure. Yeah.
And I feel like that's the big thing that we need to let people know as well, that it's not all like rainbows and sunshine and we're skipping through a forest because, you know, we haven't had a drink today.
Oh no, I tell people all the time I struggle. So I still get cravings here and there. It's been 3 years being sober and I still struggle. Yeah. I don't think it's ever, like, it'll never stop. Yeah. It's always a win-lose battle. You always have your ups and downs, but.
Yeah, and then like the cravings may get softer, but they'll probably still always be there.
For sure.
Which is wild. First, when I stopped drinking, it wasn't as for anyone else to see it. Not to see it, but like not to become a person where someone can look up to, which has been my thing my whole life. But now that I'm not drinking for so long, I've seen the ripple effects of it with other friends I've had, how they've slowed down drinking and how they've started taking care of themselves better. And then someone's like, that's because of you. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I don't want to be that person. I'm happy that I can be like maybe an influence.
For sure.
I was like, but I don't want to be that specific person for you.
For sure. I go through that all the time too. And I've lost so many friends over the years from being sober and in recovery. And a lot of people have just assumed that like, I don't want to be around you if you're drunk or high or something. And I don't have that. Like, I have nothing against drugs and alcohol personally. Yeah. I have nothing against it. I just can't do it. Yeah. It was affecting me in a negative way, but I don't think there's harm if you live a lifestyle where you can manage and do whatever you want. So, but yeah, I feel like that's been a platform that has happened though, where so many people like look at me and they're like, you've done this for me and you're great. And I'm so happy that I can help people in their recovery and their journey, but wasn't my goal to like live a lifestyle where that's what I'm doing.
It was a little bonus that happened.
It's a bonus, right? For sure. But
to be that little light of hope for people.
Exactly.
You, after becoming a Drag Race, you mentioned that the storyline of you being Indigenous wasn't something that you wanted to be pushed onto the show.
Yeah.
But now that you are in that position and you are a role model, do you find that it's sometimes hard to be that person for other people?
For sure, because like it's hard to be a role model when you're also learning along the way. So like I'm not, because people ask me questions all the time when I want to talk and I'm like, I don't know how to answer this question because I don't know it myself. So like when you're going through a battle of like completely learning a culture from scratch that you don't know enough about and you didn't grow up with, like it's hard to answer questions or help other people through the same process and journey. But I'm happy I got that opportunity and I'm happy I can help people when I can, but it's definitely like, it's a win-lose battle again, like I said earlier. And then I feel like I need to reach out to my sisters or somebody else for help when somebody asks me something, which is not a bad thing, but yeah.
And it's good, you have so many people in your back, like you have so many people with you that you can ask them for advice.
Exactly.
And I think it's so good because sometimes being a role model, like it's difficult, can be tiring because people always put you up to a higher standard.
Yeah.
But also learning something along the way, like you said, can be tough.
For sure.
I remember when I first started drag, because in Kelowna there was no drag scene when we started it, and people started coming to me asking for advice. and I was like, I'm new to this too. It's like, I can't give you advice, but we can grow together, which is a little different with culture. And I'm probably just trying to steal the spotlight again and put it back on me. But it makes it so difficult. But also at the same time, has it been super rewarding for you to have all these people come up to you and say, hearing your story has helped me become a better person?
For sure, yeah. Because, like, there's, like, the whole aspect of a lot of Métis people being scared to come out as being Indigenous, or because they went through the same experience where it wasn't part of their life and they were too worried to come out. So it's been nice to hear other people finding out more about their family too and their story, and like it's just, I feel like everybody wants to know where they come from and who they are and their background. Like, even if it doesn't really matter in your life or affect you in any way, you still just want to know who you are as a person. So it's definitely a way of helping figure yourself out and coming to terms with yourself. So yeah, it's definitely rewarding to see other people going through the same thing. I get a lot of messages and inboxes of just people being like, I'm also Métis, or I just learned this about my family, or this, and I think it's awesome. So yeah.
That's great. So you had to essentially do 2 coming out processes.
Literally.
Yeah.
Well, there's 1,000.
Yeah.
Indigenous, pansexual, drag queen.
All those fun things.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you being Two Spirit.
Yes.
How was it when you first found that term and then took it on for yourself?
So, again, with learning more about my culture, etc., I didn't really know what Two Spirit means. I still, to this day, don't officially know what it means, because I think there's so many different aspects of being Two Spirit and different understandings of it. But when I first started telling people I was Two Spirit, I more just said that because that's what I was kind of told that I was.
Yeah.
But now, like, I'm learning and
so
realizing.
Someone else put you in a box kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah. So
but then you're like, it kind of makes sense.
Well, I came out as non-binary,
Yeah.
like, years ago. But there's other forms in terms of that, and then I started figuring out what Two Spirit was and realizing that it's similar but a little different. It's more of like a spiritual journey. It's more of like a non-binary is just like giving you a title of being like, you don't want this or that. Two Spirit's more of I am all these people into one. So it's like there's different meanings and different terms that have helped me come to terms of who I am as a person. Yeah. So even though I said it when I was younger, not fully knowing what it was, now I've been learning over the years, and it really does justify who I am as a person. So, yeah.
It's also a beautiful term because it just can mean so many different things.
Exactly.
Right?
It's like a never-ending joy of positivity.
Literally. And it's such a beautiful word.
Yeah.
Like non-binary.
Yeah.
It's, I get it. But like when people you put beside Two Spirit, like...
People are like, you're one of those non-binaries.
Yeah, exactly. You're one of them, they, them.
One of those they, thems. From the prairies.
Talking about Two Spirit and how you said it's like a fantastic term for all these things. I get pretty annoyed when I hear, mainly we'll say white people, try to box the term up so they can better understand it. Like, oh, Two Spirit means trans.
Yeah.
Like, no, it doesn't.
Not at all.
And then, but also at the same time, I appreciate that the conversation's there so we can have that moment. But
for sure.
I remember I was doing a Two Spirit show. What was I doing? No. I had another podcast called Two Spirit Tea. And I was doing it with another artist called Simma Down. I don't know if you've met her. But we did a podcast together, and then we posted on Two Spirit Emotion that we're doing this podcast. It's fantastic. And then also this Two Spirit person like lashed out at me, being like, just because you're a drag queen doesn't mean you're Two Spirit. Like, you got to stop saying this, and you got to stop doing that with a white person. And I was like, did you just assume that Simma's white? Because she's white passing. But there was this whole gatekeeping thing that happened with Two Spirit where people got angry that we weren't following certain protocols, that we weren't doing things. And I was like, you're an Indigenous person from, I believe it's Saskatchewan. I was like, I'm an Indigenous person from the Yukon. I was like, there's similarities in culture. I was like, but we are totally different.
Completely, yeah.
Where my protocols won't be the same as yours.
Exactly.
But they were doing something that we've tried to erase a long time ago. Do you know the term Pan-Indian?
Yep. Yeah,
so they're like trying to Pan-Indian essentially Two Spirit and like make just the one thing across all culture. And I found that I had to fight a little bit with my identity at the beginning because people just assumed that since I was a drag queen that I was taking it for for clout.
Yeah.
I would say.
That's the same thing with me. That still happens. People still message me saying that. And we did the visual shoot with my Indigenous sisters in Vancouver, and people were attacking us saying that we...
Is that the one with the 4 of you?
Yeah.
On the steps?
Yeah.
In the orange
so there's a
shirts?
lot of positive feedback, but there's also a lot of negative feedback about being like, you guys are just doing this for clout, or you're not actually Two Spirit, you don't know what it means, or this or that, and you're just drag queens.
Yeah.
And you're also representing women wrong because you weren't wearing skirts or this or that. And I'm just like, it was a gong show. Like, there's a lot of great feedback too, but obviously we listened and took it as consideration and answered how we felt about it. But the point of the fact is all 4 of us are Two Spirit.
Yeah, and
we're
you all
doing...
had big voices, and you're all bringing recognition to a term at the time, because this was what, 4 years ago?
The shoot?
Yeah.
It was a year and a half ago.
It was that... Time just means nothing to me.
Yeah, it was... We did it right before... September 30th, so we did it, I think it was a week or 2 before, and then posted it. Oh, maybe it was a little longer than that.
I think it was longer than that. At least 2 years. At least.
I don't know. It was a while ago.
Anyways, it's a beautiful photo.
Yeah.
And I think it's wild that people were arguing with you about it, because once again, the 4 of you, 3 of you are on Drag Race, I believe, and 1 is just a very popular, well-known drag artist in Vancouver,
Yeah,
right?
that we thought was going to be on the next season.
Yeah.
Which hasn't happened yet. But
Didn't happen yet.
Yeah.
But anyways, you all have big platforms,
Mm-hmm.
and you're bringing recognition to Two-Spiritedness. So I just
Exactly.
find it wild that people are fighting you against
That's
it.
really what it was. It was bring recognition. It was to show a movement of power on how we all feel about everything that is happening and going on. And the fact of us all just being together, too, was like a big thing for us, and being with our sisters and
Yeah.
et cetera. So,
I just thought of a little fact with it. This was close to when they found all the graves in
yes.
in Kamloops, because they still had all the things set up on the steps of the Vancouver Art Gallery.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this is about 3 years ago.
Yeah, which they took it all down.
Yeah, they took
I
it
was
all
just
down
there,
recently.
and I just saw that they did, and I don't know why or what happened, but I want to figure that out. Or why.
Yeah.
But
It was a beautiful setting that they had
It was
for
very
it.
beautiful.
It was sad still, because when you see what happened.
Mhm.
We did a show for that. We threw it together really, really quickly, like maybe a month or so after we found those graves, and we did a show to raise money for Indigenous residential school survivors. And I'm not an emotional person. As I said last night, I can be a bully.
yeah. Not to me, but
Yeah, not to you. But we were doing a number, and I was doing a Buffy St. Marie song, another pretendian, I guess, right? But at the time, we didn't know that. And I just broke down and started crying on stage. And it was such an intense healing motion for me. And the reason why I broke down is because we threw this show together so quickly for these youth. And then part of me was sad that it took such a traumatizing thing for people to listen to our stories and hear what we're saying that was true.
Yep.
Another part was that all these people showed up last minute to help raise money. So I just was overcome with these emotions and haven't cried since. I remember when I was younger, I was 10 years old on my 10th birthday. My dad sat me down, because I was already a little gay then, a little dainty boy. And he sat me down at 10 and he was like, "You're a big boy now. Big boys don't cry." And I took it to heart, and I purposely never cried for so long because I was a big boy. And now I think about it, and I was like, God, that fucked me up. Because now, thinking about crying, I have shame if I start getting teary-eyed, or I'll be in a movie theater getting a little choked up, and I'm like...
I feel like we just grew up just having to be strong-willed and strong-boned, and I have a lot of family trauma and a lot of bad past, so I feel like it's just... You learn to deal with it. It happens, and you learn.
I shouldn't say it happens, but I don't know where you grew up, but where I grew up in the Yukon, in a small northern community, it was frowned upon to be effeminate.
Okay.
So I had to act a little bit more masculine, and since crying was considered a feminine thing, I purposely tried to hide that part so I wouldn't be seen as someone that was dainty and delicate. And then I grew up to be like this, but
Now you're just flaming.
I'm just flaming, but strong-willed, so had to do it probably because of past trauma to learn to adjust. And what's your excuse?
I'm actually total opposite. My family is very queer.
Yeah.
My parents are swingers. They're
Good for them.
They live
Upside down pineapples?
Yeah, everything.
Do you know what? Sorry, I'm interrupting you for a moment, but you go back to it. There is a community outside of Sun Peaks that apparently the whole town is a swinger town.
Oh.
And if you go to their house and their garage door is open, that says, please come on in and let's have sex.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Are we going?
Just kidding. Don't even know how they look. Just walk in. They're too geriatric. One old man's popping a blue pill. Anyways, back to your family about being very open and very queer and
It's
loving.
funny. Just like my parents weren't around a lot when I was a kid because they were doing their whole open lifestyle and they partied a lot. Nothing against them or anything. It's fine. But I was very alone. Me, my older brother, and my little brother. So they were just doing their own thing. They were never around. So I grew up being alone a lot and having to deal with my own life and raising my little brother. But yeah, they settled down with another married couple when I was a teenager, and the four of them were together and had a bunch of kids. So I have like 10 siblings between us all. And
Are they all still together?
so my parents divorced and the other couple divorced, and they swapped. My dad married her, my mom married him, and all my younger siblings still like go back and forth between the four of them, and they're all open too. So, and they do their own thing. Yeah, I've never been judged. Like when I never officially came out, but when I started exploring and stuff, my parents just like knew and they didn't care.
Yeah.
I never really had a coming out
Like,
story.
oh, he cuts hair, it's fine.
Yeah. The only problem I ever had is like I grew up going to church my whole life, not with my family, but me and my older brother fell in love with this like kids church program when we were kids, and we ended up working at a Bible camp together. So I grew up doing that, and my parents just loved it because they got rid of us for the weekend because we're doing this. So I grew up, and that I got kicked out of all of that when I like had my coming out. So that was probably my roughest. Yeah, they were like, no, you can't do this.
Did you,
anymore.
when you're in Bible camp, did you ever have to sit through or take part in the whole gay is bad speech?
No, I don't. I went to a lot of like artsy Christian like camps and things, I think, and it was just like a lot of young people, so I think it was too soon to have those kind of conversations.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I definitely got shunned like hard once they found out when I came out. Yeah, like
You
they
were
like,
around our kids.
literally
you
like
pervert.
I got kicked out of the Bible camp I worked at. They're like, a parent complained because they saw your social media and you talking about being bi at the time.
kissing
like,
your
I was
husband.
bi. Yeah, so. Yeah, and then I switched from working in a Bible camp to working in a queer camp literally a year later, and
And it was so much more rewarding.
yeah, and I've just been a crazy queer ever since.
Ever since.
Just,
I used to go to summer camp when I was younger, Bible summer camp,
Mhm.
and the last year I went, I think I was like 10, and they all had to sit together while they talked about the sin of homosexuality. And I remember at the time not fully like knowing that I was queer, but knowing that this was bad. Sitting there and be like, this is weird. It's like I thought we were gonna play crafts and like run around and play in boats, but now I'm sitting here listening to you telling me about queer is bad. Oh, and also on that, we're gonna talk about the church more. I think I was around 11. No. I would have been like 16 or 17. It was when the talks of gay marriage was going to become legalized. Actually, no, I think it was older than that. I think it was like 17 or 18. And then I went to church with a friend, which I never went to a long time with. And then the pastor, this is the town I grew up in, so the pastor, everyone knew me and everyone knew that I was gay.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting in the church, and then the pastor was like, we need everyone here to sign this petition because our country's going to hell.
Wow.
They're legalizing gay marriage. And I was like, I'm right here. So it's a little traumatizing, that part, when I think about the church.
sure.
Yeah, so I can care less about like insulting the church.
Yeah.
But when you first came out and you were shunned, did you ever have like people like look in your face and tell you that you're like the devil?
No. So I feel bad hearing about all these stories of the people who went through that. I didn't really go through anything like that. I literally just got kicked out and no one talked to me ever again. Like, it's just like,
Which
bye.
could also be just as mean, right?
Oh, it was,
Yeah.
because it was my life. Like, I worked at a Bible camp. I went to church like every day of the week. I was like in a rock band, like praise and worship band with like Springs
Amazing
Church
Christian
and like
rock?
yeah, like I did everything, and just like you're like, bye, you can't come back.
Yeah.
And I lost everything in my life, and I just
Do you
had
miss
to, like,
it?
I miss a lot of aspects. I think there's like it's just like communities like that. There's a sign of acceptance, and I think that's why a lot of people like going and stuff too. You make really good friends. You're like part of a community. You're like feel treated good most of the time. So I miss that aspect, but obviously not being who I truly was not a way of living. So I don't miss that or going back to feeling that way. So, but yeah, I never really went. I think I lost a lot of friends who I was really close with. So that was probably one of the most traumatizing things from it. Like people I grew up with my whole life. I worked my best friends at this camp since I was like 4 years old. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So I lost a lot of cool people. But then,
And when did you start coming out?
I first came out as bisexual when I was 16.
Oh, well, so that's at least 12 years that you were with this group before you started experimenting.
For sure. And then there's a whole journey. Like, I came out as gay, then realized I wasn't gay, and then went back in the closet, and then I actually came out as trans.
Did you come out
for a while?
Did you go back in the closet because you liked women? Is that where you're hiding? Or you're hiding your straightness? Is that what you meant?
No, I just so back in the terms, when I was younger, being bi was not accepted.
Oh yeah, because it was always bi, now gay later.
Yeah,
because there's
exactly.
all that bi-erasure.
You're just saying you're bi. You're not actually bi. So I settled down with a man for years. That ended up not going so well, and we split up. And then I realized that I wasn't gay. I started getting attracted to women again, and a lot of non-binary people, etc. So I didn't when I say I went back in the closet, I never went back in the closet. I just switched my platform a bit.
I was really hoping that you were sneakily sleeping with women behind closed doors.
Maybe for a little bit. But yeah, now I'm all over the place. So
yeah,
I just the
But
person.
it's sexual freedom, right?
Exactly. I'm the person for the person. So.
Yeah, and if it's two consenting adults, who cares?
Exactly. And I don't really like labels, but if I had to pick a label, that's why I say I'm pansexual. But I prefer there just to be no label. A person's a person.
Two-spirit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Two-spirit, and everybody's who they are.
Let everyone else figure it out.
Exactly.
Well, they don't need to. Fuck them if they try to, anyways.
Exactly.
Anyways, let's get back to you thinking you were trans. How'd that come along?
Well, again, before I really knew what Two-Spirit was, I battled a lot with my gender roles. I used to dress really, really feminine, and then I went through phases of masc and femme, and I used to love, I grew my hair out really long, and I used to just wear, I think people just started calling me she all the time, so I kind of just went through an aspect of maybe I am, and I didn't really know. So I came out as a trans woman for a little while. I did a lot of things when I was younger. I did some sex work. I did a lot of things through my journey of
self-discovery.
Yeah, and also
enlightenment
through addiction as well. So that came with that. So I did that for a little while, and then realized that it wasn't exactly who I was. So I went back to being a guy again, and then I battled for a few years with that, and then that's when I finally came to being non-binary, and then on Two-Spirit, etc. So yeah, there's not a lot of people who know that journey about me. A lot of people in my recovery know that about me because it came with a lot of my addiction issues and doing sex work to pay for my drug addiction. So yeah, so that was a story that I kept hidden for a long time until people knew me, so they obviously knew it was part of my life. But yeah,
this is a story people
for sure
resonate with.
Exactly. So, and I help other people now, and even through some of my recovery programs I've met a lot of beautiful trans women who I got to tell my story with too, and just help them through their journey as well.
Do you feel that once you found the term Two-Spirit and really got to know your identity, that things just became a little easier?
For sure, yeah. I think I just battled for so many years of feeling like you're being forced on a gender spectrum. I'm not a cocky person, so I hate using this, but I've always known I was an attractive man in people's eyes. So I think that made me struggle coming to terms of my gender expression, because I felt like I had to be this attractive man that people saw, and I hated that. So that was a battle for me on its own. Even Drag Race, they threw the whole trade of the season thing at me before he was even on the show, so I knew that was coming, and I didn't want that to be an edit, but it was. So I think it's a battle that I'll always have, because I don't feel like I need to be this masculine man all the time, even though I can be. I don't know.
But what's great about the world now becoming more knowledgeable about gender expression is that we don't always have to,
for sure,
act the way we're presenting.
For sure. So I think there's this stigma throughout all the years, even as a drag queen, you battled dating as a drag queen because you're too feminine or this or that. So that was always my battle too. I didn't want to be too feminine. I didn't want to be too masc. And then that's when Two-Spirit came. So I feel like it's getting so much more open and accepting in our world that people are starting to just like people for who they are and being themselves, which is amazing. It's what our world needs. So,
and being Two-Spirit, or not just being Two-Spirit, the term Two-Spirit is becoming more widely known. Because I don't know how it was when you first started identifying.
No one knew what it was at all, or no one could even express or try to have a definition of being Two-Spirit.
Yeah.
So
you spent a lot of time probably explaining your identity.
Yeah.
Because I explained Two-Spirit so many times,
yeah.
and now I don't really have to.
Yeah.
Which is great. It just shows that language does evolve and grow, and people can learn.
For sure. Yeah. And again, I think it's a broad term that
literally, which was one thing that we have to teach people still.
Yeah.
That they don't realize that it's an umbrella term for all indigiqueer.
exactly. They just there's a lot of people just throw you in a box when you say you're Two Spirit, which is also not a thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have boxes in the Indigenous community.
Yeah, we don't.
It's a circle.
It's a big open circle.
It's a big open circle. Oh, that's so fantastic. I'm happy to hear all that about you, and I'm learning a bit about you, so that's fantastic.
Same, you too.
We're partnered for life now.
Good.
In the world of friendship.
Yay.
Yay. Yay.
Yay. Everyone has their addiction issues.
Everyone has their addiction issues, right?
Yeah.
Like, I really like drugs.
I did.
Yeah, and I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason why I quit drinking was because I make stupid choices when I'm drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my cleanse was just to like clear my head, do things, and I was like, you know what, don't need to do this anymore.
Same. I don't think I really ever had like a huge problem with drinking. I had a problem with having a few drinks, and then I had a huge problem with drugs that came along with it. So I could, after 2 drinks, I'm like, where's the baggies?
Yeah.
Like, let's do this. Yeah.
Call your dealer.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like actually my goal was never to like quit drinking. It was like to quit everything and get in a better mindset, and then being able to have a drink here or there. But now that I've been sober for so long, now I'm at an aspect where I'm like, I don't think I can go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, because at first, same thing. The worst is when you start like pre-planning. You're like, okay, I'm getting drunk tonight. Let's buy like a gram.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and the same thing with me is so that I figure, I say I'm in a moment of non-drinking because I don't know if I'll go back to drinking, but I also want to get to the point where I just have a few drinks and that's it. Mm-hmm. Do I think I'll get to that point? I have no idea. But I also am at that point where I've been sober for so long that I just love how I feel.
Exactly. And that's where I'm at. Like, the thing that I struggle with the most now, because it's been so long, is like, I miss the aspect of being like, can I just have a glass of wine to do a celebration or this or that? And I'm like, can I ever get back to that? But I've been sober for so long now that I'm like, I think it's just not a good idea. Like, I'm in such a good headspace. I'm so like happy with myself. And then I also do a lot in the sober community. So I feel like if I relapse, that would not be a good thing. So
yeah. I also feel like if people end up having a relapse, we need to not have a moment of like shame towards them.
Oh no, like relapse is part of a lot of people's stories in recovery too. So I have nothing against it at all. And like, it's a big journey and it happens to a lot of people. It's definitely not a part of my story yet, but I think it's part of the struggle, and there's so much shame towards it, which sucks, but like there shouldn't be, because it happens, and the fact that it happens, then you can still get out of it and then go again is just a lot of power. So
a lot of power.
Yeah.
Some people always ask me why I talk about drugs so much. And I was like, the reason why I talk about drugs so much is because I feel like if we normalize it or we get rid of the shame of it.
Exactly.
And if someone's going to do drugs, and if there's no shame about talking about it, then they're going to reach out for help before they probably need it, or they're not going to feel shame to reach out when they do need that help.
Exactly. So, and also making jokes of it as a way of enlightening it. And
lightening it up.
Yeah. So I do the same thing. Like, I always joke around like, oh, I'm going to relapse tonight. Like, like, it's because if you can't joke about it, then you can't live with it comfortably.
Yeah, so. And then it also helps people heal. They can see
Exactly.
that such a serious topic can still have moments of funny.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I will always advocate, not for drug use, but for the talking of drugs. Like, if we're going to do drugs, once again, I don't care, but also just do it safely, do your buddy system kind of thing.
Same.
There's free places to get it checked. They won't take it from you. That was old school myth where they're like, oh, if they find something in it, they're not going to give it back. They're like, no, they'll give it back unless there's like something that will literally kill you with one drop. But they'll let you know. Be like, this is what's in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, get your drugs checked, do the safe thing, have fun, but also just be safe with that.
For sure. So I joke around all the time, even when I'm on the mic at shows, I'm like, I don't drink or anything, so I have an extra shot for me. Like, I'm like, live your fun, live your life, just like make sure you're safe about it. So
Same thing. I'll always get like a shot with someone, but it's water, and I was like, this H2O is so good. It's so stupid.
Mine's pineapple juice. I'll have like a shot of pineapple juice with everybody.
I was, because I always get people to do shots at my brunch show, just for a thing, and if someone's like sober, I'll get them to do a shot of juice. And then I didn't think about it the other day, but I was like, is this triggering for them. I was like, am I forcing this person to come onto the stage and take a shot? And then it like, is it a triggering moment?
I've
So I
learned.
stopped doing that. If they don't drink, I'm like, no, you don't have to take part in this. It's fine. It's like, if you want to, it's no big deal. But
I've learned from that too, because I've found out like some people's traumas and stuff through my journey of recovery in their journey of recovery too. But I found mostly like if you're in a bar setting, if they're coming to a bar setting, then usually they're in a good self-control or comfortable state where they can handle that and be okay. It just depends on the person, I guess. So I'm not saying some people don't get trauma from that, but or triggered. But most people who would come to a bar thing, I think, are pretty
safe.
It's pretty safe and
I also
structured.
found that the longer that I'm staying sober, the more empathetic I am. I
Same.
don't know if I like numbed my feelings beforehand, but now I'm more conscientious of people around me.
Yeah.
Or I start feeling something for someone. It's like, oh, I feel bad. And I was like, who are you? But it's just growth, I guess.
No,
right?
that's just growth. Yeah, I do the same thing. So you definitely get to see, I think also just being in a sober mindset, you look at people around you more and realize everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So it definitely comes with recovery. So
Do you drive?
I do drive. Yeah.
Do you get asked to be DD a lot?
Always. I'm always the DD, which is not a bad thing. I like it because I like driving, and then it's a way to help my friends too. So
I don't mind being DD if I am performing at the event.
Yes.
Because I know I'll be there the whole night, but if I am just going out with friends, I'm like, I will drive you there, but chances are I'm going to leave way before you all do. Because I can care less about staying at the bar till like 2 a.m.
exactly. That's another thing that comes with it is like I hate being in the bar all night now. And it's not that it's not fun or anything. I just like I get quiet because I'm the sober one.
Yeah.
And everyone else there isn't. So it's like
And they get loud, and then you can't match their energy, and it's just like a comfort level as well. I'm the same way. Like at the beginning of the night, fantastic, perfect.
Yeah.
But once they start getting that sloppy drunk and they told you the story 3 times in like the last 10 minutes,
Exactly.
I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah,
now.
I'm ready to go. I heard
And
this
like,
already.
come stay with you. I miss the old drunk you. Be like,
That happens a lot.
watch what you're saying.
Yeah. But the one thing I'm at now that I never did before is like if I'll offer to drive everybody home, like, and if I get bored, I'll leave and then I'll just come back. I have no problem doing that. So I'll be like, I'll just come back and get you later.
You're nice. I'm all like, phones off, going to bed.
Yeah. The only time I don't like doing is if I'm in drag because I hate driving in drag because it's just so uncomfortable.
You also have full body,
Yeah.
whereas I'll drive and drag because this is it for
Literally
me.
sitting on your dick. So it's
Yeah,
yeah. Like yesterday, because I'm here in Kelowna for a show with you and my sister's birthday, so she was a little drunk, so I had to drive home and drag, and it was not the...
Yay! Did you not...
I'm not mad at all, but it was fun.
So when you do drag, do you fully get dressed before getting to the event?
Depends on where I am or if there's space for me to change or not. Usually I'll put like my
Friends of Dorothy doesn't have that.
no
tight
space.
squeeze.
Yeah. So, but I'll usually come like in my full padding and like bodysuit first, and then change into my outfits. I wear really big, extravagant outfits, so I usually can't show
like
up
if
in them.
you drove in that outfit you did your first number in last night,
Yeah, it would be
you would
broken.
not be able to drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever have, because you have a big ass,
Yes.
not as a boy.
No, I do. I do them both.
I'm joking. We made a joke about that last night about having essentially a bannock butt because we're joking about your ass.
Yeah.
But anyways, you have a huge ass in drag.
Yeah.
When you're driving, do you ever have like issues putting your seatbelt in?
Not really, no. So it definitely like changes your sitting in a car though. Like I'm usually just like laid back and I'm like, oh, I'm up now because there's so much padding. But no, but I also like, yeah, I feel like I'm just like sucked in and stuck, and then everything here is too tight, so it kind of hurts a bit. So
Makes sense.
and all the hair in the way, and lashes you can't see.
Literally, and if you're wearing wigs and you try to do a shoulder check, sometimes you can't see
Literally.
past the hair.
Last night you're like, you're driving home, I'm like, my hair is everywhere, my lashes, my face, my contacts. I was like,
Getting blurry because they're dry.
yeah, I actually got pulled over in drag like a week ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was going 5 over the speed limit in a 60 zone, going 65. And he pulled me over and took my ID, and then he's like, well, this doesn't look like you, so I can't use this form of ID. And I was like, really? And
You're
he
like,
made
what
me-
else am I going to use?
Yeah, and he just made me sit there. And I was like, I'm on my way to a drag show. Like,
Yeah, I got to get to work. I don't drink.
yeah,
Did you get out of it?
yeah. But he like made me sit there for like 40 minutes, and I was like an hour late for the show.
Oh. Do you want to hear a funny story about happening to me in Thailand?
Sure.
I got pulled over too.
Oh, did you?
But it's a little different story. So we rented scooters in Thailand, and me looking the way I look can be very feminine at times, all the time.
all the time.
And I got pulled over on a roadblock going from one beach to the other. And then they didn't ask me if I was drinking or not. He just looked at me.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said sawadee-ka, which means hi, how are you? Or sawadee-ka, it means the same thing, but in masculine or feminine. So he's essentially asking me which one. So I was like, sawadee-ka, which is the feminine one. So then he grabs my hand, and then he sees my nails, and then he takes my hand and just like does this with his hand while looking at me. And then he goes, rawr. And then he's like, have a good night. So that was my experience with the Thai police.
Okay. At least it wasn't like a bad experience.
Yeah. Didn't ask me if I drank or anything, or just had to finger my finger and do that.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it's my new husband. We actually got married the next day. He's coming to Canada with a green card.
I think I'd rather go to Thailand.
Yeah, literally. Amazing. Okay, so one final question before we end our lovely little chat.
Sure.
You coming as a person that is reconnecting with their culture, what advice do you have for someone that, say, had the same upbringing as you, didn't have any like solid connection but wants to start? Where would they begin?
I would say where to begin, like, because the same thing that I'm going through is like start like reaching out on like social media aspects, especially like Facebook is honestly a big one for that. Like, you can find relatives based off their last name. Like, they might not be related to you, but you can also find relatives through that. So I like kind of been with family I do know, have found like the history of all our last names and our generations and stuff. And I've just been kind of seeking out to people and be like, we have the same last name. Where are you from? This or that. We might be related, we might not be. So that's one aspect. And then I've also just been, I guess it's hard depending on the person if you have no family or you do have some family. So for me, I do have some. So I've been reaching out to family to find out like history that they don't know a lot of. But so, and my aunt has dementia, who's the only one who does know stuff too. So she forgets everything really easy as well. So it's been a little bit of a battle, but I would say just like be calm, realize that there's somebody out there who knows more about you. So like, or your family history, like if you keep trying, it'll happen. There's ways to find history. So you can also like do an ancestry and find out what you are and reach out to other family members through that as well. Like, yeah.
Nice. That's good advice. Like I said, just reach out.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. Honestly,
I'm
I'm not kidding you. Like, I don't use Facebook for anything, and that is the only thing I have been using it for, and it's helped me so much. Like, I started like searching up people with like all my same last names, my family, and like my like Indigenous last names and my French last names, like everything, and just like figuring out. And I reached out and I was like, are you from Manitoba? We have the same last name. And they were like, yeah, I'm from this. And I was like, we might be related. And they were like, I think we might be as well. So then they asked their family, and it kind of just like battled down. And I just found out that I have family in PEI, and I thought I was just Manitoba based in Cree, and I found out I'm Mi'kmaq, and I have family there from my grandpa's side. So it really does help. Like, you find people, you meet people, and
the connections are there.
Exactly. So
do you plan on going to PEI, hopefully?
At some point.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of...
PEI, if you're out there listening, hire her so she can...
I did a gig in PEI last year, my first time going there, and it was beautiful.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. But I have one relative for sure I know that lives there still. I don't know if there's any others, but I just want to go. Because I thought my family all just originated in Manitoba, but there's like a big part of my family that was also from PEI that I had no clue. Yeah. So...
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, you just don't know unless you reach out, right?
Exactly.
And that's what you did, and that made all these connections.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the end of Dénht'ā, of Kaos's episode. Thank you so much. That was fantastic and lovely getting to know you a lot more.
For sure.
Since you are a well-known Canadian superstar drag artist, Métis extraordinaire person, would you tell people how they can get a hold of you or they can see you? And if they want, I'm pointing at my camera so you can
for sure. My social medias are all the Kaos of Jesilo. Kaos is my drag name. Jesilo is my real name. That's, people always get confused about that. So the Kaos of Jesilo, every social media aspect I have. So you can reach me on there. My email's on there too if you ever want to book me or anything as well. So
you should book her because she's an amazing performer.
Oh, thank you. So are you.
Well,
we had a really good show last night.
We had a really good show. I'm funny on the mic. That's my shtick.
Yeah, you're funny, period.
Yeah,
not just on the mic.
It's true. My performance is this, and then I walk.
You know what? Sometimes I should just do that and call her a night.
But you're so fun to watch, though.
Oh, that's true.
So
I'm definitely getting to that age, though, where it's starting to hurt more. Oh,
she's literally turning 30.
Your body changes once you hit 30. It's a real thing.
Well, your body starts decomposing after 25.
Well, our show was last night, and my whole body's aching today.
You also did 3 high intense numbers.
That's true, but I
Yeah.
can't not do them. It's just like
Because they're so good.
I'm chaos. That's what you get.
Yeah, exactly. Deal with the issues later.
But yeah, and other than that, like I'm in Winnipeg and Calgary all the time. I have family in both. My drag family. You can catch me on Drag Race, obviously. Bring back our girls. I go to DragCon every year, so there's lots of ways you can reach out.
Yeah, find her socials. Keep it going. And if you're in the Okanagan, we hope to have her back and keep a notice so you can watch her on any show.
For sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kaos. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Bye.
Bye.